Thank you, and it's wonderful to be here this evening with you, Maryam Rajavi. 1948 was the year that the United Nations passed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This declaration was passed in order to recognise the inherent dignity and the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family as the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. It was also in that, in the United Nations Universal Declaration, that all countries and all peoples agreeing and a part of the United Nations reaffirmed their faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, and in the equal rights of all women and men. There was optimism at that time, optimism of the advent of a world in which human beings would enjoy freedom of speech and belief and freedom from fear and want. And that was proclaimed as the highest aspiration of the common people. Now we sit here today in the year 2023, and sadly, 75 years have passed and that aspiration has not been met. And one of the greatest impediments to that aspiration is the regime that currently rules in Iran, a regime that is dedicated to the lack of human rights of all the peoples of Iran, a regime that is dedicated to killing, to murder, to execution, to torture. There are 3 points that I'd briefly like to address today. One, the issue that has been mentioned previously of President Raisi. 2, the question of the 104 persons, Iranians, who are currently on trial in their absence in Iran. And 3, the issue of the women of Iran who stand as a tribute to the strength and purpose of women as an example to all of us around the globe. First, President Raisi. The issue of the invitation to him to attend the United Nations Refugee Forum in Geneva stands as a blot on that, on those who issued the invitation, but not only a blot on them, a blot on everybody who supports, every country who supports that invitation, and every country who allows that invitation to stand and President Raisi to appear and to attend. Every country that supports that is complicit in condoning President Raisi, who, as we know, was central to the killing, to the execution, to the murder of 30,000 Iranian dissidents, political prisoners, persons who simply stood up for the right to say they had a right to determine for themselves what they would believe in politically and what they would agitate for. Secondly, on the issue of the 104, the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights is, of course, relevant here. Everyone charged with a penal offence, and these human beings seem to have been charged with something out of the blue and put forward as a penal offence, has a right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty according to law in a public trial in which she or he has had all guarantees necessary for defence. That is completely lacking, and it's yet another abrogation by the mullahs of the regime of Iran against the Declaration of Human Rights. And finally, on the issue of the women of Iran, we have seen the women of Iran standing so strong and embodied in you too, Madam Rajavi. And at the present time, the agitation that's being seen there in terms of the right to wear the hijab or not to wear the hijab is a tremendous expression by the women of Iran of this Article 19 of the Human Rights Universal Declaration. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression, and this includes the right to have freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek and receive and impart information. Those women are seeking to impart to their fellow women and to the world that they stand for the right to wear what they want to wear and not wear what they don't want to wear. And that is simply an expression of a political opinion to which they are entitled. And finally, may I refer to Article 5 of the Human Rights Declaration. No one shall be subject to torture or to cruel, inhumane or degrading treatment or punishment. And that is what the women of Iran are being subjected to. Article 6, everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law and as a person in terms of human rights. The women of Iran resist rape, they resist torture, they resist sexual violence in all its forms, they resist the denial of dignity, they resist the denial of autonomy, they resist the denial of personhood. We in this room today stand determined that one day soon we will all be standing there in Iran holding hands with the brave women of Iran. And we will stand with you, Madam Rajavi, and all that you represent in terms of the rights of women of Iran, because until the rights of personhood, freedom and democracy is extended to every woman in Iran, then all the people of Iran stand without those rights of human dignity and personhood. Thank you, Madam Rajavi, for being here this evening, and I appreciate very much having had the attention of everyone here.